in an effort to kind of back up to what you're saying, I think one of the biggest lessons from Q1 going into Q2, and really, I'll throw this back to you guys, lessons from iOS 14, is just how important that communication is with business owners and other dependencies. The transparency between like the creative team and customer service, and the communication between like the cadence of communication. And honestly, the biggest lesson that I will say I got from iOS 14 and what I'm taking from Q1 that worked into Q2 is education of the people that I work with so that they don't need me to make choices. And that is like one of the biggest things, because I can't tell you like how many times I've gotten on a call and it's like, well, how much did we spend? What was our volume? What was the return? Oh, by the way, I know 14 other people took credit for half of these sales, and please pay me. Great. Like nobody cares anymore. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've gotten here is having everybody on the same page with a level of understanding and what the marching order is on what is the most important thing for the business. Has been, it's only been validated. I mean, it's one of those things I believed, but now I've seen it. All these other people have struggled, and then the people I see doing really, really well generally have a North Star, and every effort in the business is meant to make sure everybody understands their piece of accomplishing that one singular task. And I don't know, for me personally, that's what I learned, really run home with Q1. And a big lesson from iOS 14, it has been that universality of the communication and honestly, the accountability on dependencies. I can't tell you just how important that stuff is. You can't just be somebody banging away at a keyboard waiting on things from other folks anymore. You have to be, I think a media buyer will ultimately could be the function of a CMO. And the brands that aren't hip to using that are going to miss out. So I don't know. To skip to the idea of lessons from iOS 14, maybe that's a nice little shift. But what other stuff have you guys learned since iOS 14 launch? Maybe Sammy, we can go with you because
I'm probably gonna get like crucified for this, but my experience personally, and for some other people I know that are in this kind of industry, and I don't know if it's because this happened as I was kind of, finding success with my kind of agency and stuff like that. But my opinion, like, I think iOS 14 has been the best thing that's ever happened to Facebook ads. I really do, because so many reasons. Like the first reason is pre-iOS 14, you could like get away with audience hacks, a static image and some good copy and get some average results. And you were happy with that because that's all you thought that Facebook ads could give you. But then iOS 14 came in and was basically like, we can't just show those images to all these people as easy as we could. So the shift really changed into, okay, you have to make these really, really fun, amazing, engaging UGC ads, and you have to invest in your business. And like, we kind of go into the ads, like doing the targeting. We have this incredible like UGC experience. We then also look at our business like holistically, because we're not just going, okay, what was the ROAS on Facebook? What happened in Klaviyo? What happened in Shopify? Like everyone now, like everyone is looking at their business holistically and knowing that, okay, like the Facebook ads drive the email signups. And, just because something happened on Shopify that wasn't within the 7-day window of someone who, was opted into tracking, just because that didn't happen in Facebook ads doesn't mean it didn't happen in Shopify. And we're looking, it's forced everyone to look at businesses more holistically. That's my experience with it. And like, yeah, okay, like it sucks that the data isn't super accurate anymore. And, you can't get all of these fancy, like vanity reports that you could, a couple of years ago. But if it's come at the cost of taking businesses from average results to scaling businesses, there's a reason why the e-commerce industry has boomed, and it's not because Facebook ads don't work. Like, You know, that's my opinion. That's my experience.
I love it. What about you?
So for me, visualization is a really important component. And it was something that I was doing pre-iOS in, like, let's say reporting. Let's say even during calls, I'll try and build like a story arc from beginning to end to help present what's going on, and then obviously the solution to said problem. That's what's really separating the good advertisers from the great advertisers. Piggybacking off you, Charlie, with communication, if you're able to give a visual example of something that's directly going on with someone's business rather than just speaking words, nonsense fluff words on a call, that's going to help the education process move so much smoother, and thereby give the business owner, the client, whoever you're working with, more trust within you to execute on those ideas that you bring to the table. That's more of like a holistic lesson that I've learned over the past year. I don't know how specific that is to iOS 14.5. It might have accelerated it even. And then just going back to my first point, the broad stuff, like pre-iOS, it was always a split test for me. I was always setting up interests. I was using lookalikes when I had the ability to do so. And then I had broad kind of like as like that ugly stepchild that we wanted to test just because, it's like one of those things, right? Kind of taboo. Now, the ugly stepchild has reared its pretty face and it's number one. And interests and lookalikes are, in my specific situation, I'm not even using them anymore. But for some other people, they're still testing, and broad for the most part, generalized as outperforming. The interesting part, and it would be really, I would be interested to know the kind of demographic that listens to these calls, specifically if it's exclusively high ticket e-com business owners, or maybe we have a couple of beginners that are funneling into this kind of content for you, Charlie. But I would say one of the big drawbacks of iOS 14.5 back in 2021 was that it's more difficult now than ever to start. Before, trying to set up a Facebook ad account, trying to set up your business manager, get the integrations properly synced, making sure data is flowing smoothly, like the learning curve was here. Now it's all the way up here. And that's what's really separating, again, like that average business owner from the elite business owner is either understanding the system or hiring someone like me, like Charlie, or like Sam here to do it for you and to help explain the process via visualization and education. So I feel for those beginners that like the thought of starting an e-commerce brand, but are just so taken back by the amount of effort and mental bandwidth needed to understand what's going on. It's tough out there now. And the money you got to put behind getting good creative, the time, that's years of experience along with that. It's tough, man. And I feel for them.
When I first started running Facebook ads for people, I would literally just run, like I remember I was working with like a t-shirt brand and it was just plain female t-shirts. And we would just run catalog ads and get in Facebook, get like a 6 ROAS in like 2018. And we were just like, no money on content. Like you just, ran straight from the catalog. Like it was the dream, and that's great. Like, good example and everything like that. But it's so interesting, like what it's kind of gone into now. And it does take so much more. And that particular brand, like I don't work with them anymore post all of these changes. They were like, we just don't want to make the investment in, $10,000 worth of content and spending a minimum of, $5,000-$10,000 a month in Facebook ads to actually make it work. Like my first client, like we're spending 15 Australian dollars a day on ads and getting great results. Like you just can't do that anymore. Like it's just not out there,
Yeah, I will agree with both of those. And what I would say to kind of back up what you guys are talking about is there's like this moat around businesses, and I'll define it in two ways. One, established businesses that are set up to really take advantage of the space, I think are going to grow really well. I think because the one thing established businesses have over the $15 Australian a day spend is a really robust back end and business model that doesn't require Facebook to work. Like, there's an old adage, and for a while Facebook broke it, and for a while before that Google broke it, and for a while before that email broke it, but maybe TikTok is breaking it now, which we'll get to some more TikTok stuff in a bit. But the idea, there's a lesson that if the only thing your business is missing is marketing for you to be successful, when your business fails, it has nothing to do with the marketer. Like, you need to have a really good business that you can pour fuel onto that fire.
Yeah.
And I get questions all the time from people that are like, well, what's a good way to start spending $50 a day? And I tell them, figure out something in your Facebook account that doesn't require you to run conversion campaigns. Like, I've scaled 7-8-figure businesses running Facebook Lives with a comment to opt in on a chat bot because the business was really strong in influencer and CRM. Like, you don't need to run a conversion campaign on Facebook to make money. But I feel like, and again, in 2016, 17, 18, 19, the economy was booming around the world. Everybody had too much cash. Everybody's willing to drop $50, $100 on something stupid because why not? And now that that's not necessarily the case, and data is a bit harder to come by, the shortcuts of just throwing up a shit ad and dumping stupid money into it and going to the ATM just doesn't work anymore. And so I find, like, I'm involved in a startup now. It's about a year old, where we did 7 figures last year. We'll probably do 8. The reason that business is working is because the business model is phenomenal, right? And there's a specific design to that business too, where, and this is something I've been talking more and more about, that business was built specifically to sell. There's like a 3 to 4 year out as the roadmap for that business. And I think a lot of marketers still try to say, how can I prove my value as a marketer? Where a lot of what I'm trying to get to with folks now, because they're still talking, Sam, what you're talking about that holistic view, the MER, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever else. And I've been pretty public about my complete lack of any interest in that metric at all. And it's because, have you ever watched Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever gone on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den and had some wealthy investor be like, now what's your ROAS? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
They always ask 3 questions. How much does it cost to make your product? How much does it cost to acquire a customer? How much is this customer worth? And then the 4th one sometimes is, what's the market size? How much more can we grow? Well, let's see your figures. Great. Well, you've been growing year over year. Great. All we need now is to reduce your CPA and you're golden. Well, yeah, that makes total sense.
A rule that Casper didn't follow. Hot take.
Yeah, and look where they're at now. Fun fact: one of their competitors, the CMO of one of their competitors is one of the investors in this other business. So I won't get too out of touch because I do have some deals and I need to protect that. But yeah, 100%. And I think that there's absolutely this concept. And the honest truth is, I think there's a lot of marketers at the head of really good businesses that haven't adopted it. A couple of them come to mind. They're very popular. I won't call them out because I'm trying to be nicer. A couple of them are in the chat for this show, so I won't, whatever. The point is, you don't need to be good at Facebook ads to build a business. But if you have a really good business, that Cody Plofker said it great. A good business will scale a Facebook account. And I think that means a lot. And I think that's one of the big pieces. And then the other side of building this moat is the delay. One of the things that came with iOS14 and why I agree is one of the best things that happened was because it prevented agencies and marketers from being able to lie to themselves and their clients. I remember 2 years ago getting into huge Twitter beefs with people who have since blocked me, and they have no idea how much I'm trying so hard to be a nice guy now, where they were just so insistent that delayed attribution was great and you had to spend into Black Friday, and they shared all of these case studies. And really what they were doing was saying, if you spend a bunch of money on Facebook, you get a whole bunch of revenue that comes in from other channels afterwards. Yeah, an intent creation device generates incremental lift.
Yeah.
But I don't see any of those folks talking about delayed attribution now. Now they're all MER. Now they're all whatever else the next measurement du jour is. But anyway, insofar as the lessons from all of this stuff, I agree with you. And for what it's worth, because I have a couple of friends who are investment bankers, one of the things for new businesses that has been shouted from the rooftops at me at trade shows, conventions with my buddies who are investment bankers, if you're starting a new business, you need one of two things. One, you need to be, or if you're going to be successful for the next few years, one, you can start a new business or have a product that is highly disruptive so that you can dominate growth and exit, or have an existing business where that moat gets bigger and bigger as all of your competition in the space that's not as sophisticated as you melts away. There is not an opportunity to be the next, no offense, the next Australian plain t-shirt brand spending $15 a day and just going to the ATM machine. I don't see it happening.
But I think that's, again, going into like why it's a good thing, because it's weeded out every Tom, Dick, and Harry just starting an e-commerce brand and, being able to start with just some static images and kind of moving up from there. Like, you really have to make the big investment, and you have to have a great, for most people, you have to have a great product to be able to find people to invest in that product, and it all kind of works together. It's not I can't tell you how many, it's all the time, skincare brands, every single Tom, Dick, and Harry has a skincare brand at the moment, and they're all Australian made, they're all natural, they're all vegan, and it's you're not doing anything different, right? This is exactly the same as the last 3 skincare brands I've spoke to this week, right? And they're coming and saying, we have this, but they don't have any money for ads and stuff like that, or they don't have any money for content, and it's
Alex Hormozy,
you can't play in the field perfectly. Then
he says, I will not invest in a company that doesn't have hot, sticky, expensive air. And they're all kind of, they allude to different things. Hot referring to desire for the market. Sticky referring to that market isn't going to fall out of fashion because of some natural event or timeline. Expensive, perceived value. And then air, low cost of goods, high margin. So if you can really nail those 4 things in whatever offer that you're trying to present on whatever traffic channel you're running from, that's going to be the best way to do it.
And one of the things, Sammy, you brought up, and I want to just kind of hit home on it. The money you use to spend on creative and ads should be a fraction of, it could be a large or a small fraction. I don't mean fraction as in a little piece. It could be 90%, but it needs to be a percentage of your operating margin from profit. It cannot be the thing. You can't rely on paid media to jumpstart your brand on Facebook, at least. Maybe TikTok's a great option for that, but you just can't do it. That just doesn't exist anymore.
Daily struggle for me.
Yeah, and I can't tell you, I teach a lot, and how many folks come to me, and I just tell them, look, I don't think this is the right fit for you, because your objective is just wrong. I feel not wrong, just you're not set up to be successful, right? Your objective isn't aligned with the goals that you want. And I think that ultimately that means that your opportunity for success is very low, and paying somebody like me isn't going to fix that. That being said, go for it.
I'm with you. There's a big problem of, for a lot of the brands that do get through and do spend some money on content and stuff like that, and this has happened to me quite a few times, where a lot of people don't understand that ads is just an amplification of your brand. Quote Charlie. Ads is just an amplification of your brand. And I have so many people that have come to me and I'm running ads, and they're like, oh no, we're all over our social media and we're doing all this. Don't worry about it. And it turns out they're actually not at all doing anything. They're just, they're not, building an organic presence, organically. They're not, engaging and building with people on email and stuff like that, but they're still expecting these kind of, miraculous like results just from ads. And it's like you can't just run one without, you know, doing everything else. And now I'm like very lucky to be in a position where I'm like, if like I'm happy to help with strategy as much as I can, but if you're not, you know, really like nailing all of these pointers of, you know, like a great website, a great organic presence, working with influencers, you know, constant on
The other
organic
variables,
social
right?
media. Yeah. Other variables.
What happens like after the click?
I can't kind of help you. Yeah, exactly. And I'm having this like work with a brand where I'm like, okay, if we're gonna work together, like you have to be the face of it, because we don't engage like with products anymore. We engage with people. And I'm like, it's great that you've got this product and you've got it to this point, but like you have to be the face of it. You have to be on your organic Instagram all the time and providing just as much value as possible for people. And I'll just amplify that in our ads, right? That's all my job is to just reiterate what you're doing for your brand outside of this. And so many people just don't understand, and they're like, oh, we'll just run ads, it'll be fine, like we'll just do Facebook. And it's like, no, not anymore. Like,
another note for the creative side of things that you mentioned, Charlie, I would say maybe controversial take, maybe not. I would say most brand owners have absolutely no idea what they're doing when they're trying to delegate creative assets and resources. Because if you think about it, in order to truly understand what kind of creative is going to work for your specific offer, not only do you have to understand your business model, but you also have to understand the algorithm that you're trying to plug that asset into. Yeah. And most people don't have those two things together. The only way that you're going to get that is prior experience running ads and then starting a brand, or starting a brand and then working with someone that has the experience that you can bring together and work as kind of like a conglomerate. Those are the only two options.
Yeah. I'm saying this to like clients.
There's brands that go to Fiverr, right? They're like, oh, I can get content, I can get UGC for $50, and then they wonder why it doesn't work. Do you think that Fiverr editor, that Fiverr creator knows your brand? Do you think that Fiverr creator has millions of dollars in ad spend behind their assets with data to prove why they're doing it a certain way? They don't.
No, my big thing for that at the moment, like whenever I get like a client through and we get kind of content made and stuff, and I'm like, our only goal right now is to be better on the next round of content. That's it, right? Whatever we put up, like I'm partnered with a Creative Converters, shout out to those guys, massive creative agency in Australia, and like we buy content, you know, for X amount of money for a client, run it for 2 months, you know, work out why the bad stuff didn't work, why the good stuff did work, get the second round. And it's like, okay, let's just say our first month, you know, doesn't go that well, and our second month is a little bit better, and our third month is a little bit better, and then we refresh the creative based off the data that we've seen in the previous couple of months, and then we have a lift, and then we just keep going like that. And that's how you ultimately build a business, because when you're getting your first round of creative, and even if it's with a new business or whatever, you're really just guessing what people are going to react to and what people will like, right? Because you don't have enough data, you don't have enough research, you don't have enough insights on what's actually worked. So it's like you just have to put it out there and then just keep getting better and better over time. And it's like your first few months might not be that great, but you know what, if the second 3 months are a little bit better, and then you refresh after 6 months, and then you keep going like that, you know, in a few years' time, you're going to have a big boom in business. And it doesn't mean the first 3 months were a failure. It means you just had to spend the money to get the lessons, you know? And it's kind of like, it's just like the good and the bad thing about e-commerce is like, you can get, you know, as much data as you want, but you have to pay for it, right? Like,
yeah, nobody wants to spend 20 grand to get ads to work for them.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, I invested $500. Where's my returns? You know?
Yeah, but we're sold this dream. Like so many agencies in Australia, and like, I fucking hate this. Like so many agencies, like promise, you know, oh, we got this client X times return, or you know, for the agencies that are still using ROAS and stuff like that. And it's like now people are going, oh, why am I not getting, you know, that return? Or, you know, why is this not working out for me? Like they're saying they can do it for that. And ultimately, like I find people are kind of I guess, like flushing through like agencies like no one's business, because they're just chasing this magic, this magic return or this magic overnight number that maybe for that particular brand doesn't exist, but they're sold this idea where because someone got a sometimes return for some brand, it's out there for you too. And like, they don't take into account that actually maybe, you lose a little bit of money on the first purchase, but 75% of people come back and purchase twice, and 54% of people purchase 3 times or whatever. And it's like, that's where you make the money. But you're not getting to that point because you're chasing your tail, changing creative agency or ad agency every 3 months because you want to get like a 6 ROAS. Like, it's such bullshit. Like,
I can't. Yeah, I agree with you. And one of the things I want to say on this, and then maybe we can move to a bit of something else, because I mean, I think we're all just in massive agreement. I will say this. I have had such a good ROAS that the business almost had to fold up and go. I was working with somebody that demanded a 3 to 5 ROAS every day. And the best we could do is about $400 making that happen. When I moved them to this CPA and COGS and LTV, this thing I call PSM, that profitable scaling margin, we got $22 net per customer on the transactions. And then that LTV lifted as they continued. And instead of getting a 3 to 5x on $400 for 1 sale per customer today, we were able to get $22 per transaction at $3,000 to $4,000 a day, and the LTV doubled over 3 months. That business had to go out and find the next round of funding 6 months early. Like,
is this the alcohol delivery one?
Yeah, it is the alcohol delivery one.
You can't mention.
I can't mention, although I hit unsubscribe on the text messages, and I totally got a text message from Tim like, "Hey, new phone, who this?" I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Whatever.